A storm rages around the roots of a cosmic tree. A single figure hangs, suspended between life and death, as ancient secrets whisper in the wind. This is the story of the Norse runes, far more than an alphabet, discovered by the god Odin in an act of unimaginable sacrifice. By the end, you will hold the keys to understanding their hidden meanings and the immense power they wielded over fate and fortune. We will uncover why a god would torture himself for knowledge and how these symbols shaped an entire worldview. What does it truly mean to pay the ultimate price for wisdom? Before the runes, there was only the void, an immense, yawning emptiness called Ginnungagap, where nothing existed except the potential for everything. From this silence, the first elements emerged, fire and ice, clashing in the gap to form the primordial giant Ymir and the cosmic cow Ordhumla. From their bodies, the first gods were born, carving the world of Midgard from Ymir's flesh and raising the sky from his skull. Yet this newborn cosmos remained a place of raw, untamed power. Giants roamed the edges, chaos simmered beneath the surface of creation, and even the gods themselves were newcomers in a universe they did not fully understand. They could build walls around Asgard, they could forge mighty weapons, but they lacked a fundamental tool. They could not read the hidden patterns of reality. They could not decipher the whispers of fate woven into the roots of the world tree Yggdrasil. They were powerful, but they were navigating in the dark. In such a universe, survival demanded more than strength, it demanded insight. It required a code, a system to interpret the chaos, to bind magic with words, to see the threads of destiny before they pulled taut. The runes would become that system, but first, someone had to suffer to learn them. Into this world of untamed power stepped Odin, the All-Father. He was a god of terrifying contradictions, a ruler of war and a seeker of poetry, a king who presided over the glorious dead in Valhalla, yet was forever haunted by a desperate hunger to know more. His very name meant frenzy, a kind of inspired madness, and it drove every action he took. Odin understood that to rule the 9 realms, brute force was not enough. True power lay in foresight, in understanding the hidden currents of fate that flowed beneath all things. This obsession led him to make his first great sacrifice. He journeyed to the roots of Yggdrasil, to the well of the giant Mimir, whose waters held infinite memory and wisdom. The price for a single drink was staggering. Mimir demanded an eye. Without hesitation, Odin plucked out his own eye and dropped it into the well's dark depths. In return, he gained a profound, sorrowful sight, a glimpse into the patterns of past and future. Yet even this was not enough. The runes represented a deeper layer of knowledge, the very framework upon which reality was built. They were not simply to be seen, but to be endured, to be lived. For Odin, the quest for the runes was the logical, terrifying culmination of his entire being. It was the ultimate act of an obsession that defined him, proving a core tenet of the Norse world, that the greatest wisdom is never found, it is bought, and the currency is always suffering. The price for the runes was not a single, swift payment. It was an ordeal. Driven by his relentless need, Odin climbed the immense trunk of the world tree, Yggdrasil, an ash that holds all the realms in its branches. He did not go to a leafy bough, but to a high, exposed root, a place of raw cosmic power. There, with no one to offer him aid, he performed the ultimate act of will. He took his own spear, Gungnir, a weapon that never misses its mark, and he used it to pierce his own side. He then hung himself from that great root, a willing sacrifice to himself. For 9 long nights, Odin dangled between the worlds, suspended between life and death. The wind from the void howled around him, a bitter cold that seeped into bone and spirit. He was given no food, no drink, no comfort. His own blood dripped down, a dark offering soaking into the roots below. This was not a test of endurance alone, it was a deliberate unraveling. He had to step completely outside the boundaries of a living god, to enter a twilight state where the normal rules of existence did not apply. Only in that liminal space, in that agony of body and spirit, could the hidden layers of reality begin to peel back. The runes were not written in a book to be read. They were etched into the fabric of the cosmos, and to perceive them, Odin had to become as empty and open as the primordial void itself. His torment was the key, a suffering so profound it carved a channel for ultimate knowledge to flow through. On the 9th night, as his agony reached its peak, something shifted. His gaze, blurred by pain and hunger, fell downward. There, in the shimmering, dark waters pooled among the roots of Yggdrasil, he saw them. They were not carved into stone or wood, but were dancing just beneath the surface of the water itself, a constellation of glowing shapes etched in light. They twisted and flowed, each form a perfect, angular symbol humming with silent power. This was the moment of cosmic revelation. Odin did not create these shapes with his mind. He did not invent them. He witnessed them. His consciousness, pushed to the absolute limit by sacrifice, had finally tuned itself to the fundamental frequency of the universe. The runes were the underlying code, the primal alphabet from which all things were spelled into existence. They were the hidden framework of reality itself, the bones of magic, law, and fate. Seeing them was like suddenly understanding the grammar of a language you have always spoken but never seen written. The chaotic world of fire, ice, and giants now had a syntax. Every force, every element, every destiny had a corresponding symbol, a key that could unlock its nature. His suffering had not been a payment for a scroll of knowledge. It was the price of admission to see what was always there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for a mind clear enough or broken enough to perceive it. These glowing shapes Odin witnessed were the elder Futhark. To call them an alphabet is true, but it is like calling the ocean a puddle. Yes, the runes represent sounds, the building blocks of words. You could, and people did, use them to write a name on a sword or mark a boundary stone. But that practical use is only the surface layer, the very tip of the root. Each rune is far more than a letter. It is an ideograph, a symbol that carries a complete concept, a universe of meaning within its angular form. Take the rune Fehu. It corresponds to our F sound, but its intrinsic meaning is cattle, mobile wealth, prosperity, and the raw energy of possession. It is not just a letter spelling the word wealth, it is the living essence of wealth itself. Another, Raidho, is our R, but it embodies the entire concept of a journey, a wheel, the right path, and the motion of a chariot. These were not arbitrary assignments. The shape of the rune, its name, and its core idea were inseparable, born from the worldview of the people who used them. This stands in stark contrast to our modern alphabet. Our letter A is a neutral vessel. It carries no inherent meaning beyond its sound. It can begin apple or agony with equal indifference. A rune could never be so detached. To carve the rune answers, representing the gods, divine inspiration, and the spoken word, was to invoke that entire powerful concept directly. This is where the magic, what the Norse called hugger, enters. Because each rune was a container of a fundamental force, inscribing it was an act of summoning. To write the rune Alges, the elk sedge symbolizing protection and a shielding hand, was not merely to spell a word for safety. It was to draw the very power of protection from the cosmos and fix it onto an object, a doorway, or a life. The runes were a technology for interacting with reality's hidden layers, a way to speak the silent language of the world Odin had glimpsed from the tree. They were tools for divination, for casting spells, for healing, and for cursing, because to manipulate the symbols was to touch the forces they represented. This structured collection of symbols needed a name, and the Norse gave it one derived from its own essence. Just as we call our alphabet the ABC after its first few letters, the runic system became known as the Futhark. This name comes from the phonetic values of its first 6 runes, Fehu, Yoraz, Thorisaz, Ansaz, Raidho, and Kornan. It is a beautifully self-referential title, a system naming itself from within its own structure. But the order of these 24 runes was far from random. Unlike the sequence of our modern alphabet, which is essentially arbitrary, the traditional Futhark order appears to tell a story. It outlines a profound and cyclical journey. It begins with Fehu, representing cattle and primal wealth, the raw material of life. It then moves through Yoras, the wild ox symbolizing untamed strength and vital force, and Thurisaz, the thorn of the giants, embodying conflict and necessary defense. The sequence progresses into realms of communication with answers, the god's rune, and movement with Raidho, the journey. It continues through concepts of harvest, partnership, and joy, eventually reaching runes like Issa, the ice, representing a standstill, and Jera, the year, symbolizing the patient cycle of reward. The order culminates in runes like Dagaz, the day, marking a breakthrough or transformation, and Othala, the ancestral homeland, a return to inherited wisdom. This was not a haphazard list, it was a map. A practitioner moving through the Futhark in its set order was not just reciting letters, they were walking a symbolic path from creation to completion, from raw potential to settled legacy. The alphabet itself was a ritual, its very structure reinforcing the Norse understanding of life as a purposeful, if challenging, voyage. To know the runes was to know this path by heart. This structured path of the Futhark was itself divided into 3 distinct families, each holding 8 runes. These groups are known as Etir, a word that literally means families or clans. Think of them not as random chapters, but as 3 separate acts in a great play, each with its own mood, its own cast of symbolic characters, and its own overarching theme. This familial organization served a deeply practical purpose for ancient rune masters. Memorizing 24 abstract symbols is a daunting task, but memorizing 3 groups of 8, where each rune within a family shares a common thematic thread, transforms rote learning into a meaningful narrative. The first Eat belongs to the goddess Freyja, a deity of love, fertility, magic, and fierce independence. Her family of runes reflects this. It begins with Fehu, that primal cattle wealth, and moves through Yoras, the raw life force, and Thurisaz, the protective thorn. This first family charts the journey of creation and material existence, from the first spark of possession and vitality, through necessary conflict, and into the gifts of communication, travel, and harvest. It is the Eat of becoming, of building a life in the physical world, filled with both abundance and struggle. The second Eat shifts the tone dramatically. It is named for Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, who stands vigilant at the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost. Heimdall is born of 9 mothers, hears grass grow, and awaits the final battle of Ragnarok. His is the Eat of challenges, tests, and profound transformation. The runes here speak of harsh lessons. Hagalaz, the Hail rune, represents sudden, disruptive force from nature. Nod, his is the knot of need, constraint, and friction that drives change. Issa is the pure, still ice that brings everything to a halt. This family is not about comfortable growth, it is about the trials that forge character. It asks what happens when your journey is blocked by a storm, when you are bound by necessity or frozen in place. The runes that follow, like Jera the harvest and I, was the yew tree, offer the rewards of patience and the resilient strength found at the core of hardship. Heimdall's Eat prepares you for the watchman's ultimate fate, facing the fire giants at the world's end. It is the necessary crucible. The final family belongs to Tyr, the one-handed god of law, justice, and heroic sacrifice. While Odin sought wisdom through cunning, Tyr upheld order through a solemn, unwavering commitment to right action, famously sacrificing his hand to bind the monstrous wolf Fenrir. His Eat concerns the higher realms of consciousness, divine order, and the legacy we leave behind. This group contains runes like Tirwaz, Tyr's own symbol, representing honor, justice, and the principle of self-sacrifice for a greater good. It includes Berkana, the birch goddess of new beginnings, and Awaz, the horse of perfect partnership and trust. It culminates in runes like Dagaz, the breakthrough of day, and Othala, the ancestral homestead. Tears Eat moves beyond personal struggle into the realm of societal structure, sacred oaths, and cyclical completion. It asks what you're willing to pledge your hand to, what partnerships you build, and what inheritance you ultimately leave for those who come after. Together, these three families, Freyjas, Heimdalls, and Tears, guide a practitioner through the entire human and cosmic experience, from creation through trial to transcendent order, making the runes not just a list but a living map of existence itself. Fehu hums with the energy of a herd on the move. As the very first rune of the Futhok, it sets the entire journey in motion with a concept so fundamental to the Norse world that it shaped their language, their economy, and their view of the universe. Its name translates directly to cattle, but to stop there is to miss its immense symbolic weight. In a society without coined currency or centralized banks, wealth was not a number on a screen or a stack of gold in a vault. True, negotiable wealth had legs. It grazed, it bred, it could be driven from one pasture to another, traded for goods, or offered as a bride price. Your herd was your living savings account, your social standing, and your family's security against a harsh winter. Fehu, therefore, is the primal spark of mobile, dynamic prosperity. It represents not just possessions, but the active, flowing energy of possession itself. It is the raw fuel of ambition and survival. When a rune master carved Fehu onto a tool or a weapon, they were not simply writing the letter F. They were invoking this entire force, attempting to attract that vital, nourishing current of abundance into an object or a life. They were tapping into the same fundamental power that turned grass into meat, calves into a larger herd, and a single cow into a network of obligations and alliances. Yet the Norse understood a crucial truth about this kind of energy. Fehu's power was not meant to be hoarded. A cow that is not milked suffers, and a herd that is never culled becomes unsustainable. This rune carries with it an inherent social contract. The wealth it represents comes with a solemn responsibility to share it, to circulate it through the community via gift-giving and feasts. To cling to Fehu's energy out of pure greed was to pervert its nature, inviting not just social scorn but a kind of spiritual stagnation. The prosperity had to keep moving like the cattle themselves, or it would sour. In this way, the very first symbol in their sacred alphabet taught a profound lesson. True wealth is not a static pile, but a current, and its value is measured not by how much you hold, but by how much you allow to flow through you. If Fehu is the wealth that moves, your Uz is the raw force that makes movement possible. This second rune takes us from the managed pasture into the deep, shadowed forest, from domesticated cattle to the terrifying majesty of the aurochs. Imagine an ox, but not the placid creature of the farm. The auroch stood nearly as tall as a man at the shoulder, with horns that could span over 6 feet, curved like lethal scimitars. It was the embodiment of untamed nature, a creature of immense muscle and unstoppable charge that roamed the ancient woods of Europe. This was not an animal to be owned like Fehu's cattle. It was a force to be respected, feared, and ultimately channeled. The rune Yoraz, shaped like a stark, angular arch, captures this primordial essence. Its core meaning is raw, untamed strength, the vital life force that exists before civilization imposes its order. Where Fehu represents the energy of acquisition, Yoraz is the foundational power that allows for acquisition in the first place. It is the health in your blood, the courage in your heart, and the sheer stubborn will to survive a blizzard or face down a foe. This is the power of the wild ox, a strength that is not polite or controlled, but pure, potent, and utterly necessary for existence. In a rune reading, Yoraz rarely speaks of gentle progress. It appears when you need to tap into your deepest reserves, to push through a barrier with brute determination, or to initiate a new phase of life that demands every ounce of your vitality. It is the rune of the athlete pushing past their limit, the artist confronting a blank canvas with fierce creative energy, or anyone recovering from illness and reclaiming their fundamental health. Yet Yggdrasil carries a vital warning within its power. The aurochs was not a malicious beast, but it was dangerous because it was wild and immense. The raw life force of Yggdrasil, if left completely unchecked, can become reckless, chaotic, or brutish. It is the difference between the courage that defends a home and the rage that destroys without purpose. The Norse saw this not as a flaw, but as a natural characteristic of the power itself. True strength requires a container, a direction. This is why Yggdrasil follows Fehu in the Futhark's order. First, you must feel the spark of desire, the Fehu energy of I want, I need, I will have. Then you must summon the Yggdrasil's power to actually go out and get it, to endure the struggle, to have the health and fortitude to see the journey through. One rune provides the destination, the other provides the engine. Without the wild, foundational power of Yggdrasil, the prosperous ambitions of Fehu remain just dreams in a field. But without a purpose to guide it, the mighty charge of the aurochs simply crashes through the trees, leaving a path of pure chaos in its wake. Yet after the raw, untamed force of the wild ox comes a symbol of a very different kind of power. Yggdrasil, the third rune, is a stark, angular shape resembling a thorn or a bolt of lightning frozen in time. Its name whispers of ancient, terrifying beings, the Thursars, the primordial giants of frost and stone who existed before the gods and who embody chaos, raw nature, and mindless destruction. This rune is the thorn on the wild rose, the lightning strike that splits a sacred oak, the sudden, piercing frost that kills a tender spring bloom. It represents a fundamental truth of the Norse cosmos, that creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin, and that chaos is not an aberration, but a constant, pressing force at the edges of order. Yggdrasil is that force given form. At its most basic level, it is a symbol of reactive, often violent, energy. It is the spark of conflict, the insult that demands a response, the unexpected obstacle that pierces your plans. Think of it as the moment you step on a hidden thorn, a sharp, immediate pain that triggers a reflexive jerk, a surge of adrenaline, and a shout of surprise. There is no malice in the thorn, only its inherent, piercing nature. Yggdrasil operates in much the same way, a blind, automatic force of disruption. This makes it one of the most feared and misunderstood runes, for it speaks of accidents, of arguments that explode from nowhere, of natural disasters that reshape the land without thought or intent. It is the embodiment of everything the Norse sought to guard against, the entropy that constantly sought to unravel the walls of Asgard and the order of Midgard. This is precisely where its connection to the god Thor becomes so vital. Thor, the Thunderer, the protector of mankind, spends much of his mythic life in direct conflict with the giants. His great hammer Mjolnir is not just a weapon of brute force, but a tool of consecration, used to hallow and protect. Thor does not seek out chaos for its own sake, he actively battles it to preserve the cosmos. In this light, Yggdrasil is not only the giant, but also the hammer that smashes the giant. This reveals the rune's profound and crucial duality. While Yggdrasil can represent a mindless, incoming force of chaos, it can also symbolize a deliberate, focused force of defense. A thorn on a stem is a hazard to the careless hand, but a thorn woven into a hedge becomes a formidable barrier. When consciously understood and harnessed, the energy of Yggdrasil transforms. It becomes the protective boundary, the clear line in the sand, the righteous anger that rises to defend your home or your honor. Carving Yggdrasil as on a doorway was not an invitation for trouble, it was a warning and a ward, a way to turn the chaotic force back upon itself. It said the thorn points outward here. In a personal sense, Yggdrasil challenges us to recognize the thorns in our own path. It asks, where is chaos pressing in on your life? Is it an external conflict or an internal, reactive anger that needs to be mastered? More importantly, it asks how you can take that same piercing, defensive energy and use it with purpose. Can you build a boundary instead of just lashing out? Can you channel a sudden shock into a catalyst for necessary change? Yggdrasil teaches that the most dangerous forces are not always those we fight, but those we fail to understand and redirect. The giant's strength, once harnessed by the god, becomes the very wall that keeps the giant out. From the defensive thorns of chaos we arrive at a source of clarity. Answers, the fourth rune, is the divine breath that gives shape to sound. Its angular form is said to resemble a simplified mouth or the branching point of a river, an estuary where fresh water meets the vast sea. This is the rune of the Aesir gods themselves, and most intimately of Odin in his role as the All-Father, the Lord of Inspiration. Where Yggdrasil is the reactive shout of pain or defense, Answers is the considered word, the poem, the prophecy, and the command. Its core meaning flows from its very name, which is linked to the Old Norse word for a god, ás, and carries the sense of an opening, a channel. Think of it as the mouth that speaks wisdom, or the river mouth where the knowledge of the heavens flows into the human world. This rune governs all forms of communication, but not the idle chatter of the marketplace. Answers represents communication charged with meaning and authority. It is the law spoken by a chieftain to settle a dispute, the inspired verse of a skald that captures a hero's deeds for eternity, and the sudden, intuitive whisper from the gods that a Viking might feel as a sign before a battle. To receive answers in a reading was to be told, pay attention, a message is coming. This could be literal news borne by a traveler, but more profoundly, it was an invitation to tune into a higher frequency, to listen for the divine signal amidst the static of everyday life. It asked the seeker to consider, what is the universe trying to tell you? What inspiration is waiting to be voiced? Mastery of Answers was not merely about speaking well, but about becoming a clear vessel. Odin, after his ordeal, did not just hoard the runes, he shared them, seeding the knowledge across the worlds. He was also the patron of poetry, having won the mead of inspiration through cunning and sacrifice, a drink that turned its consumer into a skald or a scholar. Thus, Answers embodies the gift that follows the sacrifice, the wisdom earned through ordeal that must then be articulated and passed on. A leader who wielded Answers understood that true power lay not in silent strength alone, but in the ability to unify people through shared stories, to decree just laws with clear words, and to interpret the subtle signs of the world. To carve Answers onto an object was to invoke this sacred channel, to call upon the clarity of Odin himself to bless a council meeting, to aid in the memorization of a complex saga, or to help find the perfect healing words that could mend a frayed bond. It reminds us that the greatest human technologies are not just tools of stone and iron, but the very words we use to weave understanding from chaos. A clear word sets the path, but movement brings it to life. Following the divine inspiration of Answers comes Reidho, a rune shaped like a capital R with a single strong leg. Its name translates directly to wagon or ride, and you can almost hear the creak of wooden wheels and feel the rhythm of hooves on a packed earth track. This is not a symbol of aimless wandering, but of purposeful travel. Reidho governs every journey, from the physical voyage of a merchant's cart tracing a familiar trade route to the spiritual progression of a soul navigating its destiny. It represents the very concept of being on the right road, moving in harmony with a larger, natural order. Think of the wheel of a wagon, a perfect circle that must turn in a specific, balanced way to cover ground efficiently. If the axle is bent or the path is ignored, the journey becomes a jarring, wasteful struggle. Reidho embodies that smooth, lawful turning. It is the rune of correct timing and rightful placement, the deep understanding that there is a season for planting and a season for harvest, a time to depart and a time to arrive. For the Norse, a people of explorers and settlers, the idea of the rightful journey was sacred. To be on your correct path meant you were in alignment with both personal purpose and cosmic law, what they called Orlurg, the primal layers of fate. A warrior feeling Reidho's influence might sense it as the perfect moment to launch an attack, the moment when the shield wall of the enemy presented a fleeting gap. A farmer would feel it as the instinct to sow seeds just as the last frost receded. This rune speaks to the rhythm inherent in all things, the cyclical motion of the sun, the turning years, and the wheel of fortune itself. It assures us that progress is not only possible but destined when we move with intention and respect for the road's rules. To carve raid hoe on a ship's mast or a traveler's staff was to invoke this harmonious motion, to ask for the journey to unfold as it should, for the wheels to turn smoothly, and for the traveler to find themselves in the right place at precisely the right time. Kenaz glows with the warmth of a torch held against the dark. Where Thurisaz was the mindless lightning strike or the piercing thorn, Kenaz's fire brought indoors, mastered by human hands and will. Its shape, like an angular K, is often seen as a torch or a burning brand held aloft, a beacon in the night. This is the rune of the controlled flame, the hearth fire that cooks food and gathers a family, the forge fire that softens iron to be shaped into a sword, and the careful lamp that lights an artisan's hands as they carve wood or stitch leather. Kenaz represents the transformative power of fire when it is directed by skill and purpose. Its core meanings flow from this image: knowledge, revelation, creativity, and practical craft. Think of the moment a blacksmith first sees the glowing orange heart of the metal in the coals. That is Kenaz, the sudden revelation of potential. It is the flash of inspiration that illuminates a solution to a stubborn problem, the creative spark that ignites a new project, and the skilled technique that turns raw material into a useful, beautiful object. This rune is deeply connected to the artisan, the maker who possesses not just passion, but the learned ability to channel it. Kenaz is the guiding light on the path, the knowledge that dispels confusion. In a rune reading, it often appears when you need to find clarity, to learn a new skill, or to bring a creative vision into the tangible world. It asks what needs to be illuminated in your life. What inner talent are you ready to kindle and master? Yet fire, even controlled, demands respect. The hearth fire can warm a home, but it can also burn it down if left untended. Kenaz carries this dual nature within its warm glow. The passion it represents can be the dedicated focus of a sculptor or the destructive obsession of a jealous heart. The transformation it offers can be the refining of gold in a crucible or the painful burning away of old habits. The key is guidance. Kenaz is not about letting wildfire rage. It is about holding the torch steadily, using its light to see the next step on the path, and applying its heat precisely where it is needed to create, to reveal, and to change. It is the enlightened power that follows the defensive thorns of Thurisaz and the inspired words of answers, the practical application of divine insight into the work of human hands. But a gift is never a simple transaction. Following the creative fire of Kenaz comes Jibo, a rune of stark and elegant simplicity. Its form is a single, straight X, a crossing of two paths. Its name means gift, but to the Norse mind, this was a word loaded with immense gravity. A gift was not a casual present, not a one-way transfer of an object from giver to receiver. It was the living heart of their social fabric, a sacred exchange that wove the invisible threads binding families, allies, and even mortals to the gods. This concept is captured in the ancient Latin phrase, do ut des, I give so that you may give. Every gift carried with it an unspoken but deeply felt obligation, a debt of honor that demanded a reciprocal offering, not necessarily of equal value but of equal sincerity. A chieftain who gifted a fine sword to a warrior was not just arming him, he was investing in his loyalty, creating a bond that expected brave service in return. To accept the sword was to accept that bond. This is the realm of Jibo. It represents all partnerships founded on this principle of sacred exchange, from the solemn peace treaty between two clans, sealed with exchanged weapons, to the marriage contract between two families, uniting them in a web of mutual support and shared destiny. The rune itself, that simple X, is a perfect symbol of this meeting point. It is the crossroads where two independent paths intersect and become one journey. the point of balance where giving and receiving find their equilibrium. Jibo reminds us that nothing of true value comes without a connection. Even the gods operated on this principle. Humans made offerings of mead and meat to the Aesir, and in return they hoped for favor in battle, a good harvest, or protection from storms. The gift created a relationship. This rune, therefore, speaks to the health of any bond. When Jibo appears, it asks you to examine the exchanges in your life. Are they balanced? Is there a generous flow, or has a relationship become lopsided, with one side always taking and the other always giving? It champions the conscious, willing gift, the act of generosity that strengthens the web rather than snapping a thread. But it also warns against the gift that is given with strings attached, with manipulation in mind, for that perverts the sacred nature of the exchange. True Jibo energy creates a circuit, a loop of mutual respect and obligation that empowers both parties. It is the unspoken contract that holds society together, the understanding that my strength can support your weakness today, and yours may support mine tomorrow. In a world often focused on possession, Jibo teaches that our greatest power lies not in what we keep, but in what we are willing to give and how wisely we honor what we receive. Joy is not a fleeting emotion, but a state of perfect alignment. Wonjo, shaped like a proud banner or a point reaching its zenith, is the eighth and final rune of Freyja's family, and it represents the sublime feeling of everything falling into place. This is the rune of bliss, fellowship, and harmonious victory. It is the profound satisfaction that comes not from luck but from earned success. Imagine the moment a Viking longship returns home after a prosperous raid, the hull heavy with plunder, every oarsman weary but unharmed, and the welcoming cheers of the village echoing across the water. That collective surge of relief, pride, and shared triumph is Wonjo. It is the warmth of a family feast in a well-stocked hall, where laughter rings out and bonds are strengthened. It is the deep comfort of a community thriving in peace, where every person has a role and every contribution is valued. Wonjo is the desired destination on the map that the previous runes have been drawing. It is the joyful arrival after the rightful journey of Raidho, and it is the flourishing relationship that results from the balanced gift exchange of Jibo. This rune teaches a crucial Norse truth. Joy is not an accident, it is a consequence. It is the culmination of right action, of navigating your path with purpose, and of honoring the sacred bonds between people. When you have moved in harmony with the world's rhythms and fostered true fellowship, Wonjo is the reward, a state of comfort and victory where the struggle finds its meaning and the effort blossoms into contentment. Hagalaz shatters the comfortable fellowship of Wonjo like a sudden hailstorm on a summer feast. This stark, angular rune, looking like an H caught in a violent crosswind, marks the brutal and necessary transition into the second family of the Futhark, Heimdall's Eat. Its name means hail, and it carries the full, unforgiving force of that word. Where the runes of Freyja's Eat dealt with building a life, Hagalaz represents the forces that tear it down without warning. This is not the purposeful thorn of Thurisaz, a force you can turn into a boundary. This is the sky itself turning against you, a storm of ice pellets that strips leaves from trees, flattens crops, and leaves a world of pristine, crystalline wreckage in its wake. Hagalaz is the phone call in the middle of the night with terrible news. It is the sudden job loss that upends your financial security. It is the natural disaster that sweeps away a home built over generations. Its power is utterly impersonal, uncontrollable, and devastating. It does not hate you, it simply is a manifestation of nature's raw, cleansing fury that operates on a scale far beyond human pleading or planning. To encounter Hagalaz in a reading or in life is to be told a storm is coming or is already here. Your plans are irrelevant, your comfort is temporary. Now you will be tested. The hail does not ask permission, it simply falls, and your only choice is in how you endure it. Yet within this destructive chaos lies Hagalaz's paradoxical and vital purpose. A hailstorm, for all its immediate violence, performs a deep ecological function. It breaks down the old, the overgrown, and the stagnant. It clears the canopy so new light can reach the forest floor. It shatters hardened earth so water can seep deeper. In the same way, Hagalaz is the universe's brutal but effective reset button. It destroys structures, whether physical, emotional, or mental, that have become brittle, corrupt, or limiting. The comfortable routine that was slowly stifling your growth, the toxic relationship you lacked the courage to leave, the outdated belief system holding you back, all are vulnerable to the icy hammer of Hagalaz. It does not destroy for the sake of destruction, but to make space. It is the necessary ordeal, the initiation by storm, that precedes any true transformation. You cannot build a new hall on the rotten foundations of the old one. Hagalaz arrives to smash those foundations, leaving you standing in the cold, clear aftermath, shivering but alive, with a blank slate of hard ground and the undeniable truth that survival itself is now the only plan. This rune asks the most difficult question: what in your life has become so rigid, so false, or so fragile that only a storm could break it open? And are you strong enough to stand in the downpour, not as a victim of chaos, but as a witness to the necessary end of one world and the raw, painful beginning of the next? Necessity is the forge where character is hardened. In the wake of Hagalaz's shattering storm, we are left exposed, stripped of comforts, and facing a fundamental lack. This is the domain of Norse, a rune whose very name is a whisper of need. Its stark, angular shape resembles two crossed sticks, a simple tool for one of humanity's oldest and most vital acts, creating fire. But this is not the welcoming hearth fire of Kenaz. This is the drill fire where a hard spindle is twisted with relentless pressure against a softer hearthboard. There is no spark without this intense, grinding friction. Norse is that friction. It represents constraint, hardship, delay, and the raw, urgent need that forces action when all other options have vanished. Where Hagalaz is the external catastrophe, Norse is the internalized pressure of survival. It is the gnawing hunger in your belly on a long winter night when the stores are low. It is the frustrating obstacle that delays your journey for days, forcing you to repair a broken cart axle with only what you can find in the woods. It is the feeling of being stuck in a situation that chafes against your spirit, creating a heat born of pure frustration. Norse makes one thing brutally clear: you are not in control. Circumstances have bound you, and your freedom of movement is severely limited. This rune speaks of waiting in lines, of bureaucratic red tape, of financial strain that narrows your choices to the bare essentials. It is the antithesis of easy flow, yet within this harsh teaching lies Norse's profound and paradoxical gift. The friction is not pointless torment, it is the necessary resistance that generates the spark. The need is not a curse, but the mother of invention. When you are comfortable, you have no reason to change, to innovate, to dig deeper into your own reserves. Norse removes that comfort. It forces you to look at the world and at yourself with desperate clarity. That broken cart axle, it teaches you the properties of wood and the mechanics of leverage. That empty larder, it pushes you to remember forgotten foraging skills or to negotiate with a neighbor in a new spirit of community. The delay makes you observe your surroundings, to notice paths you would have otherwise raced past. Norse cultivates a gritty, enduring patience and a fierce resourcefulness. It asks, what can you do with nothing? How can you turn limitation into a sharp, focused tool? This rune does not promise a quick rescue. Instead, it provides the flint and steel within your own soul. The heat of your frustration, when focused by the hard drill bit of necessity, can ignite a flame of determination you never knew you possessed. It forges the will to endure, and in that endurance, true strength is not just revealed, it is forged in the hottest part of the fire. Ice is not an absence, but a presence of immense, quiet power. Issa is the rune of that frozen stillness, a single, vertical line as stark and unyielding as an icicle hanging from a barren branch. Where north was the friction of need, Issa is the total cessation of motion. Its name means ice, and it embodies the complete standstill, the deep freeze that locks the landscape in a silent, glittering grip. This is not a gentle pause, it is a hard stop. Imagine a river in midwinter, its rushing current suddenly silenced under a thick plate of ice. The water is still there, teeming with potential life, but all movement, all sound, all progress has ceased. Issa represents that moment of absolute suspension. In a life, this rune can manifest as a project frozen in development, a relationship stuck in a cold silence, or a personal ambition that has hit a wall of seemingly immovable opposition. It is the feeling of being utterly blocked, of spinning your wheels on a sheet of ice and going precisely nowhere. The frustration of Northes is active, a grinding heat. The challenge of Issa is passive, a chilling cold that seeps into your bones and tells you to wait because forward movement is currently impossible. Yet within this frozen state lies Issa's first crucial lesson. Not every force is meant to be fought head-on. Sometimes the only wise action is inaction. A wise traveler caught in a blizzard does not stubbornly march forward into the whiteout. They hunker down, conserve their energy, and wait for the storm to pass. Issa advises this deep, strategic patience. It is the rune of necessary introspection, a forced retreat from the busyness of the world that turns your gaze inward. When all external motion halts, you are given the rare opportunity to examine the landscape of your own life without distraction. What patterns have led you to this frozen point? What needs to be preserved and what has become brittle and needs to thaw? This preservation is Issa's other face. Ice is not only a blocker, it is also a perfect preservative. It keeps meat from rotting. It holds a seed in suspended animation through the winter, ready to sprout when warmth returns. Issa can therefore signify a protective stasis, a deliberate freezing of a situation to maintain its current state, to prevent a bad situation from deteriorating further, or to safeguard something precious until conditions are right for it to emerge. The rune asks a pointed question: is this stillness a prison or is it a cocoon? Are you frozen in fear or are you in a necessary period of gestation, quietly gathering strength beneath a placid, unyielding surface? The answer often lies in your relationship with time. Issa defies our modern obsession with constant growth and relentless momentum. It teaches that potential energy can be stored, that silence can be profound, and that some of the most important work happens not in the doing, but in the being, in the patient, frozen wait for the sun. After the ice, the wheel of the world turns. Jera, shaped like two interlocking hooks or a stylized harvest scythe, is the rune of the year and the inevitable, patient harvest. This is not the sudden, explosive reward of a gamble, but the slow, sure fruition of a seed planted long ago and tended with care. Its very name, Jera, gives us our modern word year, and it embodies the entire cyclical nature of time and natural law. Think of the unbreakable rhythm of the seasons: spring's planting, summer's growth, autumn's reaping, winter's rest. Jera is the promise held within that cycle, the absolute assurance that if you sow good seed in fertile ground and tend it faithfully, a harvest will come. It is the cosmic principle of cause and effect made visible, the embodiment of the old adage, you reap what you sow. This rune represents a different kind of justice than the swift stroke of a sword. It is the justice of the field, where neglect yields weeds and diligence yields grain. When Jera appears, it speaks of a reward that is finally ripening. That long-term project you've poured effort into is nearing completion. The skill you've practiced daily is beginning to show mastery. The relationship you've nurtured through consistent kindness is deepening into trust. The key with Jera is its inherent timing. The harvest comes in its own season, not a moment sooner. You cannot rush the barley to ripen in July, nor can you force the fruit from the tree before it is sweet. This rune demands a profound faith in process, a trust that the universe keeps accounts and that your rightful due will arrive when the wheel has turned fully. It is the antidote to the frustration of Northes and the stillness of Issa, a gentle reminder that the frozen ground will thaw, the seed will sprout, and the long days of work will culminate in a full barn. Jera celebrates peaceful fruition, the quiet satisfaction of standing in a golden field you yourself prepared, knowing the yield is both earned and gifted by the turning year. It asks you to look at the long arc of your life. What seeds have you been planting, and are you tending them with the patient faith that their harvest is already on its way? The yew tree stands as a silent witness to centuries, its form both shelter and warning. Ihwaz, named for this ancient evergreen, carries a meaning as deep and complex as the tree's own nature. Its angular shape, like a vertical line with angled branches, echoes the yew's upward growth and its hidden, sprawling roots. This is no ordinary tree. Every part of the yew is lethally poisonous, from its needles to its seeds, a fact known to every Norse farmer who kept livestock at a distance. Yet from that same toxic bark, healers could derive powerful medicines. The wood of the yew is both remarkably flexible and incredibly strong, prized for making the finest longbows, weapons that could decide battles. It is evergreen, living through the harshest winter while other trees stand bare. This profound duality is the heart of Ihwaz. It is the rune of resilient defense, not the aggressive shield wall, but the enduring, patient strength that outlasts any assault. It represents protection found not in avoiding poison, but in understanding it, in transforming a deadly force into a source of healing power. Ihwaz speaks to the kind of endurance that is forged through challenge, the flexibility to bend in the storm without breaking, and the deep, inner resilience that allows for true transformation. Just as the yew tree can live for thousands of years, its hollow trunk dying from the inside while new growth sprouts from its core, Ihwaz symbolizes death and rebirth as a continuous cycle. It is the steadfastness to stand your ground when adversity strikes, not with bluster, but with the quiet, unshakable confidence of a tree whose roots go down to the bedrock. Some scholars even suggest the world tree Yggdrasil itself might have been envisioned as a cosmic yew, the axis connecting all 9 realms. This connects Ihwaz directly to Odin's ordeal, for he hung upon that world axis to gain the rune. Thus, Ihwaz becomes the rune of the pivotal, challenging experience, the difficult but necessary axis upon which your life can turn, leading from an old state of being into a radically new one. When this rune appears, it asks, where in your life are you being called to stand firm like the yew? What poisonous situation or inner toxin can you, with wisdom and patience, begin to transform into a source of your own strength? It assures you that the core of your being is evergreen, capable of enduring the longest winter and emerging once more into growth. Perthro remains a whispered riddle among the runes. Its shape, a container like a cup or a vessel turned on its side, holds a meaning that scholars still debate, for it speaks to the very source of mystery itself. This is the rune of the dice cup, of the hidden lot, and of the secrets that stir in the dark before they are revealed. Unlike Issa's clear stillness or Jera's predictable harvest, Perthro governs the realm of pure potential, the swirling chaos of possibilities before the dice are cast and the number is called. It is the pregnant moment of not knowing, the breath held before the curtain rises. In the ancient world, fate was not always a grand tapestry woven by distant gods. It was also in the humble toss of knucklebones or the carved lots drawn from a leather bag. These were sacred acts, a form of conversing with the unseen. The dice cup, therefore, is not a symbol of frivolous games, but of ritualized chance, a way to let the hidden patterns of the universe declare themselves through random fall. This connects Perthro intimately to the Norns, the 3 sisters who dwell at the well of fate beneath Yggdrasil. They do not merely predict destiny, they actively weave it from countless threads of choice and chance. Perthro represents the raw material they work with, the unspun wool of possibility, the secret influences and unexpected turns that are not yet part of the visible pattern. It is the rune of the feminine mystery, not in a simplistic sense, but as the deep, generative, and often concealed power of creation and intuition that exists outside linear, masculine logic. To draw Perthro is to be told a secret is in motion. Something is germinating out of sight, whether it is a new opportunity, a concealed truth about yourself, or a twist of fate waiting in the wings. It asks you to acknowledge the role of chance in your life, not as an enemy to control, but as a force to engage with consciously. Will you shake the cup and cast your lot, daring to gamble with destiny? Or will you wait, listening in the dark for the secret to make itself known? Perthro reminds us that not all knowledge is won through suffering like Odin's. Some is received through the quiet courage to reach into the unknown and accept what you draw forth. Algiz rises like a pair of antlers against a threatening sky. This rune, the 15th of the Futhok and the first of Tyr's family, is one of the most instantly recognizable and deeply cherished symbols. Its shape is stark, a vertical line with two upward slanting branches, reminiscent of a person standing with arms raised to the heavens in a gesture of invocation, or of the majestic, sweeping antlers of an elk. Both images hold the key to its power. Algiz is the rune of the protective aegis, a living shield that stands between you and harm. It represents not an aggressive wall, but an instinctual, almost divine barrier. Think of the elk in the deep forest, a creature of immense grace and power. When threatened, it does not blindly charge. It stands its ground, presenting that formidable crown of antlers as a clear, impassable boundary. The message is simple: this far and no further. Algiz operates on the same principle. It is the instinct that makes you throw your arm out to protect a child, the sudden intuition that tells you to avoid a certain path, or the unseen force that seems to deflect a piece of bad luck at the last possible moment. This rune embodies sanctuary, the creation of a sacred space where danger cannot enter. For the Norse, this protective energy was intimately linked to higher powers. The upward-reaching form of Algiz was seen as a channel to the divine, a way to call down benevolent intervention. This connection is powerfully illustrated by the Valkyries, Odin's shield maidens who chose the slain for Valhalla. They were not merely collectors of the dead, they were wielders of a fierce, protective magic over those destined for glory. A warrior might carve Algiz on his shield or helm not just for physical protection, but to place himself under the Valkyries' discerning gaze, to attract their favor and their shielding power on the battlefield. In everyday life, Algiz served as the ultimate amulet. It was scratched onto door frames to ward off evil spirits, etched into the bedpost to guard sleep against nightmares, and worn as a pendant to create a personal circle of safety. Its magic was one of alignment, of raising your own spiritual antlers and connecting them to a higher protective order. When this rune appears, it is a sign to pay attention to your instincts. That prickling feeling on the back of your neck, that sudden urge to double-check a lock, that inexplicable sense of peace in a difficult situation, these are the whispers of Algiz. It asks, where in your life do you need to establish a clearer boundary? How can you create a sanctuary, both physically and mentally, where you can feel truly safe? And are you open to receiving guidance or protection from sources beyond your immediate understanding? Algiz reminds us that we are not meant to face every storm alone. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in knowing how to raise your arms and call upon the watchful, shielding powers of the world. But a shield cannot stand forever in the shadow. So Willow, the 16th rune, is the sun itself breaking over the horizon, a force so vital it was seen as the very soul of the world. Its shape is a lightning bolt frozen in a triumphant upward slash, a symbol of unstoppable, radiant energy. This is not the gentle, creative fire of the hearth, but the blazing, all-encompassing light of day that leaves no corner untouched. Sowilo represents wholeness, success, and the ultimate clarity that comes when every part of your being aligns with a single, shining purpose. Imagine the moment a dense fog lifts from a battlefield, and suddenly you can see the entire field, the position of every ally and enemy, the clear path to your objective. That is Sowilo. It is the brilliant light of vitality that banishes not just physical darkness, but the shadows of doubt, confusion, and ill health. Where earlier runes like Norse spoke of friction and need, Sowilo is the pure, unimpeded flow of success. It is the rune of victory in its truest sense, not just winning a fight, but achieving a state of complete well-being where your actions are in perfect harmony with your deepest self, what some might call your true will. This rune provides the energy to see any endeavor through to its glorious conclusion. A farmer invoking Sowilo was asking for more than just a sunny day. They were calling upon the solar force that ripens the grain to perfection, that fills every stalk with life until it reaches its full, destined potential. For a traveler, it was the sun that guided the ship across trackless seas, a constant, reliable beacon that made navigation not just possible but confident. In a spiritual sense, Sowilo illuminates the path of integration, the process of bringing the scattered, hidden, or conflicted parts of yourself into a unified whole. It asks a powerful question: what would you do if you were not afraid of the shadows? What could you achieve if you operated from a place of complete vitality and unwavering clarity? Sowilo's light does not create this wholeness, it reveals that it was always there, waiting for the clouds to part. It is the ultimate goal that the protective stance of Algiers makes possible, for you cannot stand confidently in your power until you first know with solar certainty precisely what that power is for. The runes were a language for speaking with the universe itself. From Odin's agonizing vigil on the world tree to the intricate meanings of Fehu's wealth, Yoraz's raw power, and Algiers' shielding grace, we have traced a path through a complete worldview. These angular symbols were never a simple alphabet. They formed a philosophical system, a map of existence from creation to legacy, and a practical technology for shaping reality. To carve a rune was to reach into the hidden framework of the cosmos and adjust its threads, whether for protection, healing, or understanding the whispers of fate. This deep, integrated magic is why the runes have never truly faded. Their legacy pulses through our modern world. We see them in the fantasy realms of video games and blockbuster films, where they adorn ancient weapons and spellbooks, forever linked to a sense of primal power and mystery. They live on in modern divination, where seekers still cast the Elder Futhok not to predict a fixed future, but to illuminate the hidden patterns and choices of the present, much as a Norse traveler might have sought guidance for a journey. Ultimately, the runes endure because they speak to timeless human yearnings, the desire to decipher our fate, to find strength in adversity, and to pay the price for deeper wisdom. They remind us that knowledge often requires sacrifice, that order is carved from chaos, and that every ending holds the seed of a new beginning. So we turn the question to you: which rune story resonates most deeply with your own journey? Is it the transformative trial of Issa, the patient harvest of Jera, or the protective reach of Algiers? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you hunger for more myths that shape our world, subscribe for our next deep dive into the stories that define us.